Hey guys, Duke here, and today I'm going to be talking about a highly requested topic, Glimmer. Glimmer is something that everyone that plays Destiny needs, whether it be for buying bounties, changing mods, infusing gear, as well as masterworking your gear. Therefore, knowing ways to acquire more Glimmer quickly when you need it, as well as hoarding extra Glimmer for those days when you need it a ton, such as a new season or expansion drop, is super important. My first tip for maximizing your Glimmer gains is to always be using the Glimmer Booster Ghost mods. By using these Ghost mods, you can get anywhere from an extra 5 to 65% Glimmer increase whenever you receive Glimmer. I know a lot of people will want to run Blinding Light for the 12% extra XP, but with that you can still have enough energy left over to use the 4 energy cost Glimmer booster for a 35% Glimmer increase. And if you are really hurting for Glimmer, you can switch to have the 65% extra Glimmer for 6 energy cost and still have an 8% XP boost. Either way, you definitely want to always have some Glimmer booster on when playing any and all activities in the game to increase the amount of Glimmer you receive. Next, there are 2 consumables that can add large chunks of Glimmer to your reserves over time. Rainmaker is a consumable that you can get randomly when dismantling your gear, and when used allows precision kills to have a chance to create a large amount of extra Glimmer for the next 4 hours. Similarly, Glimmer Shard when used allows bosses to have a chance to create a large amount of extra Glimmer for the next 4 hours. The problem with Glimmer Shard is it does cost 250 Bright Dust, but if you're someone who is really short on Glimmer and/or doesn't care too much for using your Bright Dust for the other cosmetics in Eververse, this can be a great way to get a more gameplay impacting use out of your Bright Dust. Just be sure to use these consumables when you are planning on having a long enough session to make use of their 4-hour time frames. Spider has a number of weekly bounties that you can do on each character for a total of 81,000 Glimmer per week per character. If done on all 3 characters, this is enough Glimmer to go from 0 to 243,000, which is just short of the cap of 250,000 Glimmer. And while finishing these bounties, you are sure to get the remaining 7,000 Glimmer you would need to fully cap your Glimmer. To acquire these bounties, you need Ghost Fragments. These Ghost Fragments are acquirable by doing different activities, such as public events, on the Tangled Shore, and cap at a total of 20. While we are talking about Spider, you can buy Glimmer directly from him for rotating 20 planetary materials for 10,000 Glimmer. There are a couple of ways to take advantage of this. First, if you already have a large amount of planetary materials for the material he is trading Glimmer for, you can use that to get as much Glimmer as you need. Second, and these are the days you want to be on the lookout for, Spider also sells planetary materials on a daily rotating schedule for either Glimmer or Legendary Shards. If there is a day where he is selling a planetary material for Legendary Shards that he is also accepting for the 10,000 Glimmer, for example if he was selling Data Lattice for 1 Legendary Shard and also selling 10,000 Glimmer for 20 Data Lattice, you could effectively trade 1 Legendary Shard for 2,500 Glimmer. If you want to do a little extra preparation, you can also just get a stack of all of the planetary materials he sells anytime he sells them for Legendary Shards, so that you have the highest chance possible of having a solid stack of the materials he is selling Glimmer for if you do need it. Note that he can sell his Glimmer for Sunset Planets materials as well, and if you don't already have a stack of those materials, you will have to wait until the next day's reset when his stock changes. Being able to buy Glimmer from Spider leads me into my next tip, which is overcapping your Glimmer. Most people know that 250,000 Glimmer is the maximum amount of Glimmer your character can hold in their inventory. What a lot of people don't know is you can effectively have millions of Glimmer stored in your vault for a case when you may need it. Now millions might be more than most people would need, but having an extra excess supply of a couple 100,000 sounds pretty good, right? You can achieve this by using the Zavala's Authority ship or Otherside Sparrow from Season 3. Again, this is only useful for if you are at the cap of 250,000 Glimmer and want to be able to hold more in reserves. What you will want to do is first buy either one of these for 7,500 Glimmer and 5 Legendary Shards. Then, whenever you need Glimmer later, you can dismantle it to get your 5 Legendary Shards back, as well as 5,000 Glimmer. Note that this is a net loss of 2,500 Glimmer, so that it only makes sense for overcapping your Glimmer. But if you want to be able to have quite a bit of excess Glimmer at your disposal in a moment's notice, this is the single best tip you can utilize to your advantage. Weekly bounties from various vendors are also a nice way to get some extra Glimmer while playing in their associated activities. These bounties cost 1,000 Glimmer to buy, but will give you 5,000 Glimmer, 100 Bright Dust, and a large chunk of XP when completing them. As most players do these activities to get their weekly powerful and pinnacle drops anyway, This can be a nice way to get even extra Glimmer, as well as other items, on top of the rewards you get from completing each activity. Note that you can get even more weekly bounties when there is a seasonal event active, like the Dawning, for even more chances at Glimmer, XP, and Bright Dust. The new legendary Lost Sectors are a great way to efficiently acquire a large amount of Glimmer quickly. Depending on which Lost Sector is the legendary on that day, you can run these in anywhere from 2 to 6 minutes repeatably for a few thousand Glimmer each run. You also have the added benefit of having the chances at enhancement cores and exotics if you are running solo. Make sure that if you are running these to absolutely be running the Glimmer Booster mod, as the mod will affect all of the Glimmer drops you get, including the final chest, which can add up to an extremely significant amount quickly. You can also combine my earlier tips by using both Rainmaker and Glimmer Shard consumables while running these Lost Sectors, as that will allow precision kills and boss kills to get you even more Glimmer while running these Lost Sectors. Finally, I want to talk about the other side of the equation when it comes to Glimmer, simply using less. Obviously, getting more Glimmer is great and allows you to have more Glimmer, but using it less wastefully can add up in the long run to having more Glimmer and less issues with your Glimmer storages. Upgrade modules are a big place where a lot of Glimmer gets used. I personally try to only infuse things up using upgrade modules once I have reached the cap for the season, in this case it would be 1260, or if I'm going into a piece of high level content where having my gear as high level as possible will matter, such as Nightfalls, Raids, or Empire Hunts. Even if you don't go quite to this extreme though, keeping an eye on how often you are using upgrade modules can conserve quite a bit of Glimmer in the long run. Mods are another way that Glimmer can be used up quite quickly, as applying each one costs 500 Glimmer each. Again, I really only worry about changing my mods up in the highest level content, where having the correct ammo finders, reloaders, and all those types of things will matter. You have an additional option of potentially having a few pieces of gear set up for different activities, so you don't have to change a whole bunch of mods every time you are switching those activities. Mods are an extremely important and useful thing in Destiny though, but this tip is for those of you that really consistently struggle with Glimmer as an extra thought to be able to potentially save a little bit more. Similarly to mods, but potentially even more of a Glimmer sink, is masterworking your gear, especially weapons. The one biggest tip I can give when it comes to this is you don't need to masterwork a weapon the second you get it. Try it out a bit, see if you like it, and then go ahead and masterwork it. Going from a level 1 masterwork to a level 5 masterwork costs 10,000 Glimmer, and if you're masterworking multiple weapons that you end up not using consistently, that can add up to a lot of Glimmer fast, not to mention legendary shards and enhancement cores if you go all the way up to a fully masterworked level 10 weapon. Just like mods, if it's something you enjoy using, absolutely masterwork it, as it gives a very useful gameplay advantage, but this tip is more about those who are consistently masterworking new weapons almost every gameplay session and then don't use them later. Also note that if you are someone that enjoys the experimentation of Destiny and using all sorts of different things, please feel free to ignore these last few tips. They only serve as a reminder of these little Glimmer sinks that people sometimes don't recognize when they're using up a lot of their Glimmer and materials. Finally, a tip that is probably the easiest one to save Glimmer for some people, and actually the hardest for some others, is shaders. I personally don't care much for shaders as I'm very much a function over form guardian, so I'm a bit biased. And if you are just picking one set of shaders on your armor once and keeping those shaders for a while or even forever, this is not going to be any sort of dent in your Glimmer reserves. But again, if you're really struggling for Glimmer and are consistently changing your shaders, this is something that you can save Glimmer on that doesn't lower nor change your combat effectiveness at all, so it might be something to think about. Thank you for watching my ultimate guide to Glimmer. If this guide helped you in any way, please consider dropping a like and subscribing if you are new. Also, any feedback in the comments below is always appreciated. And as always, have a wonderful day.